Welcome to the party.
Boom! Live, recording live from the little corners of our universe. It's Johnny and the Greg.
We are live recorded.
Yes. Recorded live? Is that how that works? Recorded live?
Yeah, recorded live in a live studio of our house. So
Yeah, the corner of our homes.
corner of our homes, and I'm literally in a corner. So
Right. All right, Greg. Interesting news this week. So we need to talk about this because I'm not doing so good, sir.
yeah, I was gonna say, you okay? Do you need a hug?
No. For those of you that do not know what we're referring to, the NCAA, not really the NCAA, two mega power conferences in college football have stopped. What are you?
You're right. And let's talk about it. Like the NCAA
Yes.
took a pass, and they're
Yes.
like, they're not going to make a decision.
Right.
They are literally passing the buck to these conferences, and they're like, you know what? You guys figure it out.
Yep. Because
You
all the
guys make your
NCAA
own.
wants to do is collect the money. They don't want to really have to
Exactly.
make a lot of decisions.
They don't
So
give
there's,
in my opinion, and this
yeah.
is just we can go. This is probably a whole nother podcast. The NCAA doesn't give a shit about student athletes.
Oh, I'm gonna
They are
attack it. I'm gonna attack this like
they
that.
are just looking at what kind of money are we going to get out of the year, and so
Right.
they pass that decision on to the conferences. I say my conference, but the one I follow the most is the Big Ten.
Right.
They call
too.
The Big 12. They're still having it.
Right.
So
there's two as of right now, as of recording on Wednesday night. As of right now, there are two conferences who have canceled college football, or they call it fall sports. I don't know if basketball is included in that or not. They've canceled fall sports for the 2020 season. Okay, that means Pac-12, Big Ten, they're not doing football. Okay, for me. Okay, this hurts me immensely.
Yeah.
For those of you that do not pay attention enough to this podcast, I adore football. I love it. Okay. It is a member of my family. It is like Christmas to me every year. We go up to the Wisconsin Dells on Labor Day weekend, and my wife knows, everybody in the family knows, leave me alone on Saturday because all I'm going to do is sit on the couch with the worst type of snacks and a cocktail, and all I'm going to do is watch college football. And that's majority, that's gone probably now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what
even if conferences decide to play, they're not going to be playing Labor Day weekend.
No.
So now I have to spend time with my family on Labor Day weekend. I'm kidding.
We'll be praying for you. We will.
Yeah, right. But what I wanted to go into was the president. Okay, the president of the Big Ten. They threw down the first gauntlet, and that allowed the Pac-12 to back out as well. But here's where I'm a little upset, okay? And here's where I guess the debate kind of happens is in my heart, and I think you're with me on this, the presidents or whoever makes these decisions, they don't care about the safety of the players. They don't care about that. They care about liability. They care about eventually one day somebody when they're in their 40s saying, I have heart and lung conditions because you made me play COVID.
Yeah.
You owe me money. Like, that's what they're scared to death of. They don't care about these student athletes at all.
No. And that's been proven time and time again. You can go look at the history of the NCAA. There's a news outlet, an online news outlet called Rogue Rocket, and you can go to roguerocket.com and look up their coverage. They did an in-depth look at the NCAA and the atrocities that they have done to student athletes over the years is, I mean, when you look at it all in one package like that, you're like, how do you guys even stay afloat? Like, who's not checking up on you?
Right.
And the truth is, we're not. Like, the American public is not checking up on these people and these kids. And I'm old enough now that I can call them kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these kids that are going in to play, they're just there because they want to play. And
Right.
if you're in
Or
foot,
free education too if you get a scholarship.
if you get a scholarship, sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I like the kids that if there is a professional sport for them to move on to, that's their stepping stone. If
Right.
it's, football, baseball, basketball, um, volleyball to a point. But the other part is like these kids that if they don't play, they
Yeah.
lose their education. They could lose their ride. So that brings up a point of I'm wondering when you have, um, like, let's say a college football star who's on a full ride to the university that he attends,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to go, they're going to say, I mean, because some of this is we're going to look at a spring season. I know Wisconsin's doing that. UW Wisconsin is saying we're going to look at a spring season. So if you're looking to go into the NFL, like if you're a junior or senior and you're like, this was the year I was going to enter the draft,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to play in that spring season if the draft happens in April and that may be the beginning of your spring season? So you get drafted, maybe. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
you're drafted by an NFL team. Is the NFL team going to be like, yeah, you're not playing college football this year? Like, you're done.
I would think they would, and I think they would have every reason to. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a horrible idea. In fact, what I think is a really bad idea. I don't know if it's a really bad idea because they are young, they are kids. Remember when we were in college, we could drink 6 days a week and shake it off like nothing ever happened. I don't see why the
Yeah.
difference is why you can't do that with a sport. That's
I mean,
Well, what I mean is, okay, let's say I think they're going to start. I think their plans are to start earlier spring ball, springing maybe end of February, March, April, ending at April. Okay, I think that's the
okay.
whole idea. First off, I'm not a big fan of this idea. I think it's a horrible
No.
idea because after that March, now they have what is it? March. I'm sorry. After April, they have April, May, June, July. They start practicing again to start the fall season. So they don't
Correct.
have 6 months of rest and recovery and recruiting
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff. They're trying to. It's. I guess we can put this into. It's like trying to shove. It's trying to muscle everything in, and they're only doing it to recuperate money. They're not doing
Right.
it for any other reason.
Right.
Okay, look, I get it. The universities, and let's be real, and I'm talking about the five power conferences, okay, the big time schools. Okay, if you're in a power conference, you have big time facilities and money that you generate from your games. And let's be honest, people, I know this isn't fair, but if the majority of the money for the university comes from attending these games, watching these games, etc. Why are you looking at me like
So,
that?
well, I'm not sure I'm following you. So you're saying the bulk of the money that the university makes is coming in from college
No, no, no,
students?
no, 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 no. I'm sorry, not maybe I don't know about that, but a huge chunk of money comes in for
Oh,
these
yeah,
people.
it is
A
a large chunk of money.
humongous chunk.
Absolutely. It is
Okay,
millions of dollars. Yes, you are correct.
millions of dollars. Okay, so wait, we're going off track here because I was about to go on a tangent. Let's go back to the whole spring ball thing. You're right. If a player like let's say Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback that in all regards is probably going to be the number one draft pick for next year's draft. Most likely
Okay.
without a doubt now. Because if I'm him, right, you want to play, but you want to
Mm-hmm.
play it's too close. If you were to play in the spring, there's too much risk involved there.
Right.
Just a couple of months, you'll be actually playing pro ball where you get paid. No
Mm-hmm.
one's going to risk that has a shot at that. Now, the people that are just there to play and they're there to get their free education and they know I'm not going pro,
Right.
they're going to probably play.
Yeah. And
But
there
how much is going to
is,
be pressured? Like the scholarships, are scholarships going to be taken away if these people decide not to play because they want to, they don't want
yeah.
to, I don't know, have 3 months of recovery versus six?
Well, and even that recovery time. I mean, let's say you blow out a knee. I
Yeah,
mean, if you blow out a knee and fall, there's a chance you could rehabilitate for the next season. You
really.
blow out a knee in like April, I don't think you're going to be ready for the next season.
Yeah.
If it's a fall season. I mean, it's just
I agree. I think the idea of a spring ball is a bad idea. It just is to me.
Well, and you got, I know it doesn't happen a lot, but in some colleges you have multiple sport athletes.
Yes,
Where,
it's true.
I mean, I was a shot and discus thrower, so I try to follow that as much as I can for the college era. But there are guys that they're offensive linemen, defensive linemen in the fall. And if their school lets them, then they compete in throwing events in the spring.
Yeah.
Now, they're not gonna do that. I mean, if football is in the spring, they're not gonna do track and field because football is gonna be where they have a chance to sign and actually make
where's
a
the
career.
peer pressure? Like, where's the pressure coming from? The pressure is going to be
know.
coming from the people that have these scholarships over their heads.
Yeah.
Because from what I've heard, they dangle those over their heads when they're not complying. Like,
or
take that
or
away.
let's say you have a guy who he knows he's not going to be able to go pro in football, but he could be an Olympian in track and field. So what decision is that person going to make? Or volleyball? Well, volleyball is the same thing. Like, let's say you have somebody who isn't going to be a professional volleyball player, but they could be an Olympian.
Right.
What's that?
Right. Yeah. No, it's a good question. So here's kind of where I'm struggling with, and I don't know if this is because I'm wearing my emotions on my sleeve for this one, but here's the thing that I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand this at all. I don't understand how. Okay, if you're a Power 5 conference, okay, Greg, if you can, Google right now. Okay, Google Big Ten indoor practice facilities for football. And click on images. Share it on the screen too if you can. Sorry to throw all this at you.
Let's see what we come up with. Big Ten indoor practice facility.
Make sure you put football. Because it might do a baseball one or a basketball facility.
We got a couple different ones.
All right. My point is, okay, if everybody has these practice facilities, okay, now the Denver Broncos, I don't know if you saw this or not, but the Denver Broncos have like this little, it's shaped like a door frame, and they walk into it, and it's this mist of sanitizer. They walk into the mist, go and practice, they come back out, and they walk back into the locker room and get covered in the mist again. I don't know why they can't have that for these Power 5 conferences, and why they can't play games in these bubbles. Like, look at these practice facilities. Yeah. Why can't they play here? I don't understand that. Look at that beautiful Illinois facility.
Illinois.
You telling me that two teams like Michigan can't come over there and play them in that facility?
They certainly could.
Absolutely.
Well, sure. I mean, you could put the teams on the sidelines. You could put now. I mean, so what you're talking about then is it's the absence of the fans.
Right. Okay, it's the absence of the fans. But here's the good thing that's happening so far. One thing that COVID-19 has definitely shown across the entire United States is our lack of leadership. The people that are actually stepping up and making and handling this crisis versus the people that aren't. For example, there are two professional. Now, I grant you, these are professional. Okay, you got the NBA who has a bubble. Okay.
Yep.
COVID cases. There has been zero COVID people that have been that have COVID-19. Zero cases of anybody getting infected in that NBA bubble so far. The NHL is doing the exact same thing. They're creating a bubble atmosphere where they have zero. They have zero COVID cases. So you got two professional leagues. Now, I get it. It's professional. Okay. But you have two great examples of you can do this. This can happen. Okay. Everybody that can't go to the game will be watching it on television, so they're going to get the television revenue.
Get that revenue.
Yeah, they'll get that. People will still go on Fans Edge or wherever, and they'll buy their gear and support their team for sure. I just don't understand why they're not going that route. And my only thought is liability. period.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the risk versus reward, and at some point, some person or group of people
Yeah.
have to make a decision.
Right.
And I think that's why NCAA didn't want to make that decision, so they pushed it down to the conferences
Well,
and said, "What are you going to do?"
I think the best thing that's going to happen out of this whole thing is that somebody somebody is going to start unionizing. I mean, and the players union. There's a players union that should actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been there a while ago. But I think there's going to be a conference union where they're going to hire a figurehead to make the decisions. They don't have a commissioner. They have a
You're right.
commissioner for each conferences, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't have one figurehead, one guy that sits there and says, "This is what we're doing. This is what we're, you know." And I think that's going to start happening because right now it's the Wild West. Everybody's making their own decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a hodgepodge. And the NCAA sounds like they're going, "Hey, that's cool. If you want to play, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool. We're not liable, but whatever money you make, guys, we're gonna we get some of that."
They're still going to get their cut. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And
Well, I mean, and that's those contracts. I mean, what
contract?
Well, the contracts with the NCAA, those revenue contracts. So, I mean, I'm a Wisconsin Badger guy.
Me too.
So I wonder if, and I don't know, I haven't seen this yet, if that annual contract with the NCAA is there stipulations on if games are played, because it could be the NCAA might get their money whether you play games or not. It's just your annual fee that comes from the university of, and they don't care how the university gets the money for that. Right. That they'll just be like, okay, yeah, pay your fee if you want to still be in the NCAA. Right.
But my whole thing, like going back to, here's a question that I like you to ask her. I don't know if you've pondered it or not, but could I make an argument that the kids that go to play football or do their fall sports at the university are better off there than just hanging out at home and going to their local bars or hanging out with their friends? I mean, let me put it this way, Greg, right? I'm a student athlete. I go there, okay? I'm going to get tested maybe once, twice a week. Are you getting tested once or twice a week right now at your house?
No,
right?
Not at all.
If you feel bad, you know exactly where to go, and you're probably not going to have to wait in any type of line or any type of thing like that. Most of those Power 5 conferences, they have top-notch medical professionals that are going to get them the care that they need, probably pronto, right? So what I'm saying is, in these facilities, they'll be taken care of way better than if they're just out on their own.
I think and that's just it. That the assumption you make is that if they stay home, they're still going to be going out and being exposed.
Well, they're still going to school, right?
Not if they're doing any kind of virtual kind of thing.
But are all colleges doing that? I don't think all colleges are doing virtual, are they?
No, I mean, I think it depends on the college. I mean, I think a lot of colleges have realized that they can do virtual in some classes, maybe not all.
Yeah.
I mean, back when this all started in February and March, I remember you and I had a conversation of like, our college is going to realize that, hey, most of these classes that we offer don't actually have to be in person. Right. We don't have to pay for all these buildings and these classrooms and this, this overhead. We can just invest in an LMS or in a just like a Zoom type program, and we can teach kids that way. I don't know where that's at. I haven't really read up or seen anything that says that there's been big changes for colleges in that respect. But so I don't know. Like I said, it's all a matter of if an athlete is going to do like a virtual schooling, his exposure rate would be lower than if he or she were at school. and participating in the sport.
Right. I just feel like I just got done watching Hard Knocks right now. Hard Knocks is a show on HBO that shows every year the NFL people getting training camp. And they just spent the entire first episode pretty much on their procedures for Corona. I mean, and I get it. It's professional. So you have billionaires who don't mind spending a lot of money to test every day. There was an interview today on the radio where a guy from the Rams explained that they're getting tested twice a day, every day.
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, and so they're on it. They're watching it. And not only that, here's the other thing that I don't think anybody's even considering. You've been in sports. You've been in team sports. I've been in team sports. Do you ever feel any peer pressure not to be the guy that fucks it up?
A few times, yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
right? I mean, that's a big part. So if you're part of one of those big programs, right, do you want to be the guy that walks into the locker room or 2 weeks after you got coronavirus, then you had to shut down your practice and all this because you infected other guys because you decided to go out and party? Right. Are you really gonna do that this year?
It could even go beyond that. And this is where I think you could see even more kind of unevenness between different sports.
Okay.
Because, well, you've got the football team.
Yeah.
And the football team at the schools we're talking about are the major money makers.
Yes.
They're the ones that are bringing in millions and millions of dollars each year.
Unless you're Duke.
Well, right. But even then.
But I know what you're
talking about that. But then you're talking about basketball then if it's Duke. So,
right.
So whatever the major sport is that's bringing in the millions of dollars, they might get that kind of treatment that you're talking about that the professionals are going to get. They're going to get tested multiple times a week or a day.
Right.
They're going to have that that top-notch medical staff that boom is going to be there if they're diagnosed. Not all sports are going to get that.
Correct.
The golf team is not going to get that. The rowing team, they're not going to get that.
Right.
And so, but what I do see a lot of, and this is just when you become a fan of a college athlete and then you follow them through their professional career or just in general. College athletes tend to date other college athletes.
Yep.
So let's say, just for the sake of argument, you've got
I know where you're going. Yeah.
And he's dating a girl on the volleyball team.
Right.
And he's quarantining to the best of his ability and only really spending time with his girlfriend. But his girlfriend, who has a different regiment, is going out and she's not being tracked or tested or anything else to the level that he is.
Right.
She could come back with something, and now you've got a guy who's infected who's going to spread it around his whole team.
Well, no. You skipped over a thing. If they're getting tested daily, if that football player is getting tested daily, he won't spread it to the other team unless he's asymptomatic. Okay. But can't you tell? Can't you tell it either? I mean, can't you tell anyway? Like they do the nose swab.
If they do the test, I believe it comes out one way or the other. I mean,
right. And so that's a good point, and I think you're right about other sports in the university that aren't getting the attention of safety that the other. I mean, that's a really good point. I don't have an answer for you, except it's a horrible answer. And again, this is me coming from. They're taking away my love of the fall, Greg, and so I'm very passionate about this right now. So I'm not thinking straight. I'm almost thinking, hey, so what, volleyball? You don't get yours this year, and I'm thinking, that's. I know that's wrong.
Right. Well, but even. I mean, let's say they did go that route and they said, hey, you know what? Our major sport money makers, you guys get to play. So football gets to play and tennis? I don't know. You guys don't get to.
Right.
There could still be, I mean, people are people. People are going to be around other people. So unless you quarantine your football team and have them
in a bubble,
you've got a class. Yeah. You can't take this class this semester because you're going to take all the classes that the football team takes.
I see.
I mean, are you gonna set up special classes?
It is harder. It is harder.
How do you do that?
what is it, like 83 football players? I know that the rosters are way
Yeah.
bigger in college than they are in the pros because you have, different classes and you have people on scholarship and the staff.
Mhm.
So I know it's a huge undertaking,
What do you
but
got? Cut the practice team, cut the practice squad, so that all you have is your major players practicing against each other and risking injury that way. I mean,
that's a
it's
good point
just,
too. That's why I talk to you, man, because I don't think about that stuff.
I mean,
Yeah,
how's that going to work?
yeah, I don't think it works.
I mean, and I'm with you. I don't. To me, fall is, you know,
Football,
changing of
Halloween,
yeah, it's Halloween. It's
like
chili. It's
please, it's
football.
chilly. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all that stuff.
you
And
take
we're
that
not
away.
going to have.
Like, Greg, we're gonna be watching the NBA playoffs in October.
Yeah,
It,
and I'm not a guy. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy that will go back and watch sporting events from 5 years ago.
yeah, neither am I.
I know guys that are, and that's fine. If you want to rewatch a football game
Yeah,
that you thought was a really great game, that's just not me.
yeah, that's not me either. I guess that's like the best thing about sports is that you don't know what's going to happen, and if you
Yeah,
go back in time, you're going to go, I know who wins this. There's no,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's not a movie. It's not definitely a movie. You can
it's
watch
not
it.
as entertaining to me
Right,
the
I
same
agree
way.
with you.
You can. I mean, I'll watch a highlight reel or something. I
Yeah,
would say I might watch an MMA fight after I know who wins, depending on how good of a fight it was.
well, because you're breaking it down by the
Yeah,
martial arts.
you're looking at technique and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
you're looking
and
at
maybe that's what
technique.
those football guys are doing too, or basketball guys. They're looking at different positions or whatever. But not that guy.
Yeah, I'm
So
not that guy either. Yeah, but anyway, it's. I know I'm not the only guy out there that's feeling this right now. This sounds like there's a part of you that's going, "Damn, really?"
yeah,
But I think there's a lot of people because you're right, man. Fall is football. It's chilly. It's hanging out with your buddies. It's watch. I mean, you and I have
yeah,
talked about recording a podcast where we watch a Bear Packer game. You
yeah.
know, but that's just like
And who knows what that's going to be like? I know our topic is college
right,
football, but
right.
the pros are going to be weird this year too.
The pros are definitely going to be weird because I think, depending on the stadium size. So let's say a stadium has a capacity of 60,000 people. I think they're going to shrink it to 10,000 so they
Are
can
they?
spread everybody
See,
out. I hear
the
that's what Dallas is doing.
the last I heard, some stadiums are going no, like nobody, no
I
fans.
think that's what they should do, to be honest.
And how does that's going to change how you watch football, because there is so much smack talking and jaw waggling and
Well, it's going to be quiet.
things of that nature. Yeah, I mean,
Actually, to a geek like me, it might be great because you might actually, for the first time, hear what these people are actually saying to each other. Like, you know how the first time I ever heard, besides Set Hike, is when the crowd in Indianapolis would quiet down and you could hear everything Peyton Manning was saying. Right? We might hear that with everybody now. So that might be actually a little bit better. But what's weird is football and sports in general, it's an emotional, it's emotionally fueled. And sometimes the crowd really helps.
You're going to have, well, first off, you're going to have somebody with their finger on that censor button real quick, because
there'll probably be a 10-second delay instead of
there's going to have to be, because I mean, you catch it even now with anywhere from a college to I mean, if you can't go to a high school game and not hear an F-bomb get dropped in the middle of the field. I mean, it's just what it is. But
so it'll be different, but we're still going to get it.
Yeah.
Like, have you watched an NBA game?
No.
Okay, it's actually, honestly, it's like, you get used to it in about a quarter. In about a quarter, you get used to how it is. But in the beginning, you're like, oh, this is just like a bunch of guys at the YMCA. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
But eventually, honest, you get used to it, and then you just glued into the game. And the announcers are doing a hell of a job making you feel like it's just a regular game. And
I'll have to
The
give it a
NBA,
shot.
the NBA
I'm
is
not
really
a big
gonna
NBA fan, so
right. I thought you would start getting into it because of the Bucks.
the Bucks are amazing now, and that's one of those things I feel like a bad Wisconsinite because I'm like I don't really follow the NBA because the Bucks were terrible for so long.
Yeah.
That I should. I mean, I catch the highlight reels and I
Right.
see who wins and who loses, but I don't sit down and watch an entire game.
Right. I'll be honest. Since Michael Jordan retired, I haven't been that into
I'm
basketball.
I'm finally watching that series on Netflix about the Bulls in the
Oh, The
90s.
Last Dance?
Yeah, I'm finally watching that.
I love that. It's interesting.
And it is interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, I felt bad for Scottie Pippen when I was a kid watching him.
Really?
And then hearing like his life story, I'm just like, dang.
Oh, yeah.
Like Scottie should have been treated much better.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was a different time. It was a different time back then.
mhm.
I think Jordan wouldn't be as loved now if he grew up in this time. Like if he was playing
Well,
now with the Twitterverse and social media,
yeah.
I think he'd
mean,
be just like LeBron. You'd love him or you'd hate him. There wouldn't be any in the
Well,
middle between there.
in certainly post his career, like some of his indiscretions came out to the point where like that would have come out instantly or much sooner than
I don't think it
after
would have.
retirement.
Well, now, yes, now. I don't think it would have. Obviously, it didn't. People knew about it. They just didn't want to report on him. That's what I heard. I heard the press protected him a lot.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Same. I heard the same thing with Favre. I mean, when he was
Yep, I believe that.
when he was up in Green Bay, we heard because my wife grew up 30 minutes from Green Bay, and her friends used to go out up there, and we were talking to one of her friends.
Always out.
Well, we were talking to one of her friends. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, Favre and Schmurr were out at the bars all the time picking up women."
Dude, Shimura, I heard that dude was he's got some bad stories about him. I've heard some bad stuff about him.
He's a poon hound for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but you don't have to tell me. I have a really good idea with all the stories I've heard.
You Urban Dictionary that one.
Yeah, Urban Dictionary that. Or if anybody wants to comment and let us know what it is.
God, no. We know
anyway,
someone's going to be the first one to comment on that.
Yeah,
like,
that's
"Here's
true.
what it is."
That's true. Actually, Greg, we're into about 32 minutes of this podcast. Nobody listens this long.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a rare few. Thank you, Marshall. That's about it. So I think we've exhausted this. There's nothing else to really go over. There's a lot of questions that are up in the air. I'm very interested to see what happens because in the South, college football is king, not the NFL. Mm-hmm. So whatever, I think the South is going to put their heads down and grind through this. I think the Big 12 is going to do it because Texas is football and football is Texas, and so is Oklahoma.
I was going to say, who are you going to watch? I mean,
as
far as Midwestern goes, we got like what, Notre Dame?
No, I will never root for that team. There are two teams I never root for: Green Bay and Notre Dame. Other than that, it is not unheard of to see me wear a shirt, a sweatshirt, or a hat of any other team.
Yeah,
that's just who I am. Yeah.
For the college football that's happening, I'm going to have to find somebody. I don't know.
I'll stick with. There's always somebody good in the SEC to watch.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's end this on a fact of the day. According to FBI statistics, violent bank robberies are incredibly rare. In fact, most bank robberies, 61%, involve a single person handing the teller a note and then walking out without incident. That makes sense. I used to work at a bank. That's the first thing they say. They say, don't even remotely try to play hero or do anything like that. Just hand them what they want and, because it's insured.
Yeah.
Most likely you're going to get caught. So, especially nowadays with cameras everywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, not just in the bank, but like the stoplights have cameras, so they'll just track your car.
Yeah, the entire time. Not only that, your cell phone will ping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention the blue dye that'll pop out in your face.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Raising Arizona. You remember that episode? That was great.
John Goodman just.
Yeah. Oh, that was when Nicolas Cage was a treasure.
He was. He
Yeah.
was. I was listening to a podcast, I think, was it Robert Downey Jr.? I think it was. And they're talking about like Nicolas Cage was like what every young actor aspired to because of the choices
Yeah.
he would make and how he would play things. They're like, the guy
Yes.
was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure where maybe it was around Ghost Rider that he fell away. But
No, you know where I think it fell? Where he started buying 17 castles because he could.
yeah.
Yeah, when you start buying 17 castles, then you have to take on movie roles you're not necessarily a fan
That's
of.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's another podcast we can talk about actors that were at the height. And
And
you
just
mentioned their name now, people are like, oh, really? But when you look at their entire catalog of work, you're like, oh, there's a lot of direct-to-video on there.
speaking of that, I mean, again, this could be a Bruce Willis is one of those now.
That's whom I thought of.
Yeah. So is Mel. But anyway.
Yep.
All right. That'll end it today, folks. So thank you very much for listening. Have yourself a great weekend. Johnny and the Greg podcast out.
Go Badgers.
Go Badgers. I can never find this record button anymore. Stupid.